I've always been an outsider. When I was a kid and started noticing motorcycles, my father told me that he would disown me if I ever got a bike. He literally told me, "Son, when you get injured and go to the hospital, I won't even come see you." And he didn't. I had to sneak around on my little Honda 50 Express and hide it. Rode it to school, but I didn't let my parents know that I actually had it. I didn't even have a garage growing up, and I had no support from anyone when I was making things with my hands. I was really a lost and lonely kid. When I got to college, I pretty randomly chose fine arts as a major, and it turned out to be a really good fit because it allowed me to make stuff with my hands and it allowed me to explore things visually. But I was also constantly building wacky motorcycle projects and trying to turn them in as art projects. And my professors really didn't know what to do with me. I almost got kicked out of school when I built a chopper on the second floor of the studio building and rode it up and down the hall. What I wound up having to do is twice the work. So I'd build a bike, turn it in, receive a no grade, and then go back and do the so-called art projects to fill in the gaps. Nevertheless, I did graduate with great grades, but I didn't even attend the graduation ceremony. I was on the road riding a wacky Moto Guzzi rat bike chopper that I built in sculpture class. The first person to ever express any interest about what I had to offer regarding motorcycles was a man named David Snow. He was the editor of Iron Horse magazine. And in 1994, when I was on the road right after college, he offered to let me do a write-up, a travel journal for the magazine. Now, at the time, Iron Horse magazine was sort of a cult DIY chopper culture magazine. Iron Horse was hugely influential and hugely irreverent, and a place for outsiders like me. I began my career writing about motorcycles, which is sort of an odd place to begin. Matt Chambers, the CEO of Confederate Motorcycles, was actually a big fan of Iron Horse magazine. And when I let him know that I was going to be in Daytona in 1997 and would like to do a feature in Iron Horse about the Confederate Hellcat, he threw me the keys and said, "Be back in 3 days." I was just a kid writing for this weird little esoteric magazine, and to hand me the keys of the most amazing motorcycle that I had ever seen blew me away. I was stunned. At the time, all the hardcore chopper guys really respected what Matt was doing with Confederate motorcycles, and all the custom Harley guys feared a Hellcat. It was raw and beautiful and powerful. There was nothing like a Confederate Hellcat back then. And here I was, just a kid, riding one around in Daytona Beach. I couldn't believe the luck. 3 years later, in 1999, Matt Chambers offered me a job. This was a place where I could actually make a difference, make a stand. And that is when I drew 3 motorcycles: the G2 Hellcat, the Wraith, and a 4-cylinder. We set up an all-new manufacturing facility in downtown New Orleans. And it was my first shot at getting a chance to do production design, actually designing the assembly process. It unleashed a wave of creative energy and was one of the most wonderful times I've ever had in my life. Getting the G2 Hellcat into production on Carondelet Street in New Orleans was such a wonderful time. The G2 Hellcat has something very interesting. It's my first real motorcycle invention. It was routing the exhaust through the swing arm, using the negative space, empty space inside the swing arm tube to house exhaust gases. There's no penalty for unsprung weight. The way that we connected it was through a triple layer hydroformed Inconel bellows. The idea of doing the exhaust inside the swing arm itself had never been done before, and to the best of my knowledge, hasn't been done since. When the G2 Hellcat came out, it was a sensation. Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise both bought one, And when they got photographed by the paparazzi and were on the cover of all of the celebrity magazines in the grocery store checkout lines, our little business really took off. It was a wonderful time to be alive. Next up for me was building a Wraith prototype. When that prototype landed on the cover of Motorcyclist magazine in 2005, our phones were ringing off the hook. The Wraith was such a polarizing design, but hugely impactful. Hellcat production was going well, and we got to the point where we were able to build one a week. On August 28th, 2005, Matt and I were overseas, and we were celebrating because we had just closed a deal to raise the money to get the Wraith into production. I was the happiest man in the world. On August 29th, 2005, Hurricane Katrina completely destroyed the factory and I lost everything. In many ways, I'm still trying to recover from that catastrophe.